We are joined now on the line by the CEO of Fine Hygienic Holding, James Lafferty, who knows all about this. He's also an Olympic coach, a speaker, and a corporate trainer. Hi, James. How are you? You're joining us on Teams.
Very good. Thank you very much for having me.
An absolute pleasure. Also in the studio, I have, of course, George Hojage. He is the CEO of Virtuzone, giving us his insights on these sort of startup and matters and entrepreneurial matters. Of course, you'll have heard of Fine Hygienic Holding. Their company makes toilet rolls, nappies and masks, and they are known for that. But they're also known for taking good care of their staff. And one of the first things I want to ask you, James, basically is, how did you hire those staff? Because how many have you got now?
We're at about 3,000 employees worldwide. Almost all of them are in the Middle East and North Africa, so our region.
So busy. I mean, when you look to hire those staff, what is the first thing that you keep in mind? What would you advise small businesses should keep in mind when they start that process of bringing people on?
Well, we focus, if you look at the different levels of capability, things like knowledge and skills and attitude and traits, that it becomes harder to train as you go up that ladder. And so what we tend to do is we try to hire solely on attitude, honestly, because I can train the rest. I can train people how to sell. I can train people how to shoot an ad. I can train people how to look at advertising, how to make a presentation. This is all teachable. And we have a quite comprehensive corporate training program where we invest in our people heavily. So what we're looking at are those exceptional talents and the people that bring that extra to the table, which is perseverance, drive, motivation, a sense of commitment, dedication to winning. These are things that you can't teach. What you have to remember as the CEO of Fine, myself, I started my career as a fitness instructor in Procter & Gamble, making $5 an hour, teaching executives how to lose weight and how to exercise. And I was recruited out of that because a brand manager in Procter & Gamble in the US liked what he saw, and he said, "You've got what it takes inside." But my studies was in psychology and exercise physiology. I never took a business class in my life. And so I have a firm love of hiring those people that are hungry. And as I tell people, I can coach lots of things. I can teach you how to lose weight, how to run. All this stuff's teachable, but there's one thing I can't teach. I can't coach desire. And desire has to come from within. And I love the people with desire. So these people on LinkedIn that they nag me endlessly, I typically end up hiring them because they don't give up. But there are other people who they send me one letter and they say, "Dear sir, do you have a job?" And I say, "We don't have an opening right now." They just disappear. So they basically play nice for a day. And then when I say no, they leave. I'm looking for the people that fight.
That's interesting.
The people that want it and go for it. And so when we put jobs on LinkedIn, I'll get sometimes 10, 11,000 applications. And people say, "How can you go through 10 or 11,000? It's easy." The people who say "Dear sir" or "Madam," garbage.
They need to learn your name. That is so interesting to hear about the way that so much of it is attitude.
Yeah, and so they don't even take the time, or they just do a copy and paste to 1,000 different people. I want to see the people. The woman I hired as a CMO, she wrote me a 7-page letter why she wanted to work for us. That got her right in the door. Right in the door. She took the time to expend that kind of effort. That you can't coach that.
James, George here. What are the perks that you give your employees, or what's the good treatment or what would be considered to be a good treatment that you give your employees? Because as you're saying, it's not easy to find the employees with the right attitude. Once you hire them and you find them and you hire them and they're progressing within the company, what efforts do you do to keep them on board? Because as we know, there's a lot of competition and people tend to, especially in this part of the world, to move from job to job if they're offered a bit more money. What is it that you do to keep your people on board, to keep them happy, and for them to, if you want, evaluate the intangibles of staying with Fine?
It's a great question, George. Thank you. Look, we start with, you got to be competitive on the basic compensation. I don't think what some companies try to do is say, "I'll create a great environment, but I'll underpay my people." We don't do that. We can't do that. And so the foundation is that we are always benchmarking against the market, and we're trying to pay people competitively. Now, sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes the market moves quickly, like we've noticed in Dubai with some of the IT roles and full stack developers. The salaries got away from us. I mean, the market is moving so quickly that if you do only an annual survey of salaries and wages, you can fall behind. Then what we try to do is create an environment that people love and that they love to join and hate to leave. And that, we try to create a culture. Now, we're not always successful, and not everybody, certainly not 100% of people would say it's a great culture. But if you look at our employee surveys, we're always in the 80s and 90% on the cultural ratings. We offer things like an on-site gym. Now, people say, oh my gosh, that's so expensive. It's not expensive. If you go to these brokers, they're brokers in the United States. I can hook up any of your listeners. They buy equipment from bankrupt fitness centers in the US, and they sell it at 2 or 3 cents on the dollar. So I put in a $500,000 fitness center in my offices in Dubai for $30,000. And It's world class. It's as good as any of the open gyms that you join. It's in our facility. We have showers. We have everything. People can come and exercise. You go down there at lunchtime, or people are there after work or before work. We look at all kinds of small things. We believe that the relationship between an employee and the employer, it's like a relationship in life. It's the small things matter. Me bringing home a dozen roses to my wife means a lot to her. It's small, but these are important. So we look at small things. For example, all women in the company get 1 day a month for menstrual leave.
Good on
we
you.
give them one
Good
day.
on you.
And
George can't comment on that.
Can you sign Georgia up, please?
Yeah,
She's ready.
Boom. There we go. I'll take my day.
So,
Thank you.
We give them menstrual leave. Now, people ask me, do guys complain? I have one guy complain.
Yeah.
And the whole time he wrote me this letter, like, it's not fair, I should go. And I said,
you'll always have people complaining. It's incredible, isn't it, James?
Yeah, I told the guy, look, if you want the menstrual leave, then start menstruating. It's pretty straightforward. Then what we do is
Georgia's on the floor. Georgia's on the floor in the studio right now.
That's brilliant. I just love how you're just totally uncompromising with him, and I really approve of that. You know what's awful? So we only got a minute left with you, James, and I really need to ask you this question because it's interesting to hear that you regularly review salaries. Because, of course, according to a survey this week, more than half of companies in the UAE are budgeting for salaries to rise this year. Is that something that you're planning to do, even though we're only halfway through this year?
Yeah, we've already even implemented. We had forecasted a small inflation in salaries. We've already forecasted it, and we've already given some of those increases. We will always stay competitive. If you lose basic salary competitiveness, then I think you're in real trouble, because then you lose the most important thing in your company, which is your people. So that's something I'd rather turn the aircon off.
James, I'm such a massive fan of you. I don't suppose you need a radio presenter to come and work on your team. I'm really good at presenting radio. I can't do anything else.
Hey, Georgia, I was a gym instructor, so you know what? You're probably a lot better than me.
I'll
so
probably be half decent on the marketing team. James Lafferty, absolute pleasure to speak to you, CEO of Fine Hygienic Holding there, giving us a little bit of advice to startups, not just how to hire, but how to keep your staff happy. Great to hear from you.